Oh, hey there. Well, today we're going to have a little rant on the nature of democracy, or what passes for it in the US of A, and a thought or two on an alternative model. Historian Anna Arendt once said that anyone talking about democracy should be regarded as a demagogue unless he defines his terms. So that's fair enough. First, let's talk about what it's not. The Russian Soviets in history were in theory a broad form of grassroots popular rule, but in reality were subservient to the real center of power in a private organization called the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. In like manner, the United States Congress is in theory a popularly elected, representative parliamentary body, but in reality is subservient to the real centers of power in U.S. society, namely the holders of capital, who are those who control its economic life, its media, and fund the political process. This is brought home very strongly in the recent Supreme Court decision that allows investment in the political process by corporate capital as a form of free speech. And while it's as ridiculous as allowing churches to propagate in the public schools in the name of religious freedom, it's not the root of the problem. That root is with the very concept of parliamentary democracy as evolved in the West. At best, it's an incremental improvement, halfway between the Jamahiriya of Libya under Muammar Gaddafi and a truly representative system that balances individual freedom with society's interests, with personal rights and social justice for all. The parliamentary system as we know it was constructed by lawyers, professional men of state, who have turned the government into a public version of their private practice. While posing as public retainers of a certain jurisdiction, their services are in reality reserved for specific clients who pay personal retainer fees in the form of contributions. This client is supposedly the backbone of the system. His access is supposedly what makes the state representative and the politician a representative. But you see immediately, I'm sure, the pitfall of this, that only the one most able to pay gets the real representation. Political parties, who are held by Western political theorists to be the essential building block of democracy, are the equivalent of legal firms hanging out their shingles, soliciting the public with their services. In practice, we see little structural practical difference between a parliamentary party of the Western model or Lenin's party of a new type, except that the latter is a monopoly, projecting onto the political sphere the closed, private, corporate nature that prevails in Western economic life. So, just as there was no separation of party and state in the USSR, there can be no separation of capital and state in the US, because that is, again, the real locus and lever of power within the state. Okay, well, all right, Azov, well and good, but if you got better, let's hear your goddamn brainstorm. Okay? Let's look at a certain totalitarian state I've talked about recently, the former German Democratic Republic, which in embryo contained a much more representative system than anything found in the German Federal Republic or those Western states that helped craft it after World War II. Because in the GDR there were various public, that is, state-funded organizations for the average citizen, the Free German Trade Union Organization, the Free German Youth, the Democratic Women's League of Germany. They sat in the People's Chamber as representative bodies. In practice, of course, these were supine transmission belts for the Socialist Unity Party, but freed from that, they had the potential for being truly representative public bodies, much more so than the party system crafted in the 17th and 18th centuries by the professional legal class. Public interest groups representing a broad social constituency funded by the government can organize voters around those issues that serve their best interests. There's no room here for professional politicians, their backroom deals with major contributors. But, I hear it now. What makes you think that Rosie the Riveter or Joe Sixpack, elected by the National Federation of American Employees or some such group, can have the faint or first idea how to run the government? Well, I don't advocate the abolishing of courts. You'll still have a legalist system. The State Department and its economists, engineers, security personnel will still exist. But let's be honest, do you think that the dipshits currently running Congress know more about the world, the science of statecraft, than the most ignorant constituent that voted for them? So why not cut out the middleman? I do believe that if Joe Sixpack or Rosie the Riveter actually found him or herself in Congress, they would not only do as good a job, and probably better than the so-called professionals, but see to it that legislation truly benefiting the average citizen could be passed as representatives of nationwide constituent bodies. We would see a much greater separation of capital from state in the selection, and as well as the election, of government representatives. There would be a more honest debate. If women's rights, universal health care, the cost of the military, and the ceaseless wars could be put before actual members of the public, and I believe a more equitable and therefore just distribution of power throughout the society generally. Of course, that would be revolutionary, and for that reason might suffer the fate of revolutionary ideals to be swallowed up by the very processes that give birth to them. But it would be, in my view, a ruling government much closer to the democratic ideal than the semi-representative, easily corrupted model of free market democracy, which indeed makes a market of the state, and for that very reason, the West is forcing on the rest of the world hand in hand with its economic model. Well, that's pretty much it. But as a bonus in today's featured video, we have the 10 top public figures spotlighted in the U.S. media in need of a colonoscopy. Number 10 on my list, actor Charlie Sheen. Number 9, birther advocate and financial sleazebag Donald Trump. Number 8, TV commentator Glenn Beck. Number 7, top public figures spotlighted in the U.S. media in need of a colonoscopy. Ex-governor, professional attention whore, and all-around goof job Sarah Palin. 6, Libyan Führer Muammar Gaddafi. Number 5, United States Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts. 4, United States Congress Speaker of the House John Boehner. Number 3, top figure in the United States in need of a colonoscopy, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. Number 2, Ohio Governor John Kasich. And number 1, United States President Barack Hussein Obama tops the list for just not knowing which end he shits out of.